Okay, it's 7 o'clock. I would entertain a motion to open.
Make a motion to open.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Mike Doyle,
Yes.
Jeff Walker,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Alicia Greco. Yeah, we don't have audio for you. I think you're muted.
I'm here.
Yeah, we have you now.
Thank you.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay, and J.R. Colby, yes. This is J.R. Colby, Chairman, Newbury Select Board. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Michael Doyle,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Jeff Walker.
Yes.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Tracy Blaze, Town Administrator.
Yes.
Julie O'Brien, Executive Administrator. Martha Taylor, Town Planner.
Yes.
Eileen DeVoe, Town Accountant, Assistant Finance Director. We also have some anticipated speakers on the agenda. Please respond in the affirmative. William DeMayo, Veterans Graves Officer Candidate.
Yes.
Karen Tyler, Veterans Agent. Ben Gehagen, Conservation Commission. So I can see you.
Hey, how you doing, JR? And I'm actually here with Division of Marine Fisheries tonight rather than Conservation Commission.
Okay, we got you loud and clear.
Thank you.
Bill Holt, Conservation Agent. All right. Introduction to remote meeting. Good evening. This open meeting of the Newbury Select Board is being conducted virtually, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, and the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we've been advised and are directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends a requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Which you can find posted on the town's website, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely, so as long as reasonable public access is afforded, so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring access does not, however, ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting does not feature public comment, and it is not a public hearing. This meeting, the Newbury Select Board is convening by Zoom meeting link is posted on the agenda on the town's website. All the materials for this meeting, except any executive session materials, are available on the website. We recommend the members and the public follow the agenda as posted on the website. We're now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. We're on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I will go down the line of board members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and be sure to state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in dialogue with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. And finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call. Chairman's report. I signed the VW 20-07 WB Mason bill for Jerry Heavy business cards. I signed the PR 21-07 for Julie O'Brien, and I signed the VW 20-09 Amazon for O'Brien keyboard. Under grants, gifts, and donations, we have a donation to the Council on Aging of $1,000 from the Central Congregational Church. I would entertain a motion to accept the donation.
I move to accept.
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote. Michael Doyle,
Yes.
Jeff Walker,
With a big thank you note, yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Alicia Greco,
Yes.
and J.R. Colby, yes. We have no public hearings tonight. We have the appointment of William DeMayo, Veterans Graves Officer. And do we have Karen Tyler tonight? Are you out there, Karen?
She's having trouble logging in. I'm sending her the information now.
Okay. All right, we have the appointment of William DeMayo of Veterans Graves Officer. It's a one-year appointment. October 13th, 2020 to 2021. Sorry, I'm corrected. It's a shortened term. Entertain a motion.
Motion to appoint.
Second.
Okay. Discussion. Bill, is there anything you'd like to say?
No, I just think that, let me be clear that if any of the select board need to vet my qualifications, I'd gladly send them a copy of my DD 214, my military record, or my resume from my 39-year career at GE. I think it's an honor to perform this duty, to show respect and support for my fallen comrades.
All right, and thanks, Bill. Your service as a citizen speaks for itself as well. Jerry?
Could he just outline what his duties will be for the, viewing public? Just briefly touch on what he's going to be doing.
From the description that Tracy Blaze was kind enough to send to me, the duties are to monitor the grave sites of veterans at all of the Newbury cemeteries, to make sure that the physical conditions of the grave site were up to date. If any work was needed, to engage the right people and the right methodology to perform that work. I'm sure it's making sure that the veterans' graves are properly decorated with flags when it's appropriate. And in a nutshell, that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Bill. Any other just
I've been made aware, Mr. DeMayo, of a little bit about your past military service, and I quite frankly am extremely honored that you would take this on for our veterans. Thank you. Thank you very, very much.
Oh, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that.
any other discussion or questions? Okay, seeing none. Roll call vote. Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Mike Doyle,
Yes.
Jeff Walker,
Yes.
Alicia Greco,
A resounding yes.
and J.R. Colby, yes. Thanks for stepping up to fill this position, Bill.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill. And I just do want to mention one thing, JR, before we move on. The past Veterans Grave Officer also served very, very well, served the town very well and served his country very, very well, Donald Jarvis, and he has recently moved out of town. So I want to thank Donnie. I was hoping we could send a note to him as well for his service, and I look forward to working with Bill. Thank you.
Chairman
Okay.
Colby. Karen's having a wicked hard trouble getting into the Zoom. And I've just got text from a couple people that are also having trouble with Zoom. I'm not sure what's going on tonight, but people are having trouble logging in. Karen was gonna talk about, she's giving a medal away to a Byfield vet. And she was gonna send me the information, but she said, I'll do it tonight. So I don't have the information in front of me. So if she comes on at a later time tonight, I would like
Yeah,
to have some time for her.
yeah, no problem.
And the other thing is, real quickly, since we're on vets, last year we had a nice luncheon for the vets the day before Veterans Day. It looks like we're not gonna be able to do that this year, but I've gone to the Rusty Can and he's made me a really good offer that he will put together lunches for us that we can either have picked up or delivered. It's just, we've got to get some people together if we deliver. And Karen also, so she said the last year the turnout was so good because we sent out a lot of letters to all the veterans. She says to do that again, it's a $200 expense. I'm gonna see if I can get that covered so we can get that sent out again. So that's just an update from the other end of the vets.
Okay, thank you. And if it pops up, we'll make sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on, we have the warrant for the November 3rd, 2020 state election.
I move to sign the warrant.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion, I'm just gonna gloss over it. We have elect as a president and vice president for the United States, senator in Congress for this Commonwealth, representative in Congress for the 6th District, 5th District, senator in general court for 1st Essex and Middlesex District, general court for the 2nd Essex District, and register of probate for Essex County. I will move to a roll call vote. Michael Doyle,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Jeff Walker,
Yes.
and J.R. Colby, yes.
Mr.
Right.
Chairman,
Yes, Tracy.
I see Karen Tyler has entered the meeting.
Okay.
I'm good.
Karen, do we have your audio?
Hi, yes.
Hi, there you are.
How is everyone?
Good.
Good. How you doing?
Very good.
Okay.
I know we've appointed Mr. DeMayo.
Oh, have you already done that? Is he gone?
Yes, no, he's still in the meeting.
He's still there? Oh, well, I just wanted to say congratulations. Yeah, I saw that you were being appointed, so I just wanted to pop on and, say congratulations, and I'm here for you, whatever you need. I just want to really develop a partnership so that way we can take care of the veterans and our deceased veterans. And, you have the full support of, my department. So if there's anything, definitely don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay. All right.
Karen, before Karen leaves, Karen, you're gonna mention about the medal?
Yes. So, sorry, my dogs only seem to bark once, I am mute for the 5 seconds I unmute. So anyways, I just wanted to also tell the board that we had a very special day last week for a Korean War veteran, Byfield resident. The South Korean government has issued an Ambassador for Peace medal for Korean veterans who served in the Republic of Korea during the war. This is a very special because it's something that the South Korean government is giving. So I did a presentation of the award, read the proclamation, did it in front of his family. It was just his family there, and to maintain social distancing and everything like that. So it wasn't too big, and so it was great to really have him see that, here it is 70 years later, and they're still recognizing the U.S. service members, contribution. And I think it was really special for his family to see that. So it was a nice time. And I don't know, it's something that if anybody, hears of any Korean War vets, I always try to keep my ear to the ground when I see something that, I can do to recognize veterans. I always want to do that. So when I saw his DD 214, I said, oh, let me put in the application to the Korean consulate, and did that. So that was a great thing that I was able to do. The other thing I wanted to mention is I'm going to be doing, and I sent out the link and everything, I'm doing a Zoom presentation on benefits, and also kind of having a ask your VSO type information session. So that way, people have the opportunity to speak with me, just like everything that you guys are all dealing with, we're dealing with too, in regards to, outreach, having to adapt to the way that we usually do things. I used to have office hours in Newbury. Can't do that anymore. So I'm trying this format to see if I can get some people on to ask questions. I can talk about benefits eligibility, and also just to reiterate, my commitment and that I am here to assist veterans in any way I can. I'll also videotape it so that way it can, so for those that don't use Zoom, they can watch it on the local cable station.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so I also wanted to just put out there, if there's anything that you guys hear of, or if you have any suggestions on how I can reach more veterans, please don't hesitate. Please reach out. I'm always looking for suggestions and different ideas on how to continue, providing services.
Excellent. Thank you for all the work you do, Karen.
Sure, absolutely.
All right.
All
Have a
right. All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.
Up next, we have Plum Island Turnpike parking issue. Do we have John Lucy?
Yes.
Chief Lucy?
Oh there, how's everybody doing today?
Good.
Good, Chief.
So the concern that it's an ongoing concern. I guess it's a good concern to have for the business. They're doing very, very well at Bob Lobster. And over the summer and in some of the good days when they're really busy, there's a real traffic concern right at the Plum Island Turnpike, right at Bob Lobster. And what's happening is the patrons, they're limited as to where they can pull people off the road and park. And with the COVID situation as well, with the takeout services that are being amplified, a lot of the patrons are driving up and they're stopping in the Turnpike area looking for a place to stop to get the run out, pass off, and leave. What the hazard that's causing obviously is the choking off of that area for passing traffic. But more than that is more often than not, what's being obstructed is the bike lanes, which is on both shoulders of the roadway there. And what's happening is bicyclists and pedestrians, joggers, they have to go out into the travel lane to go to navigate around those vehicles that are parked there. And also the issue is you'll have traffic that's heading east on the Plum Island Turnpike trying to access the parking area of Bob Lobster. So they'll stop straddling the yellow line, waiting for an opportunity to get in there or waiting for a space to open up to get in there. So traffic is backing up in both directions as people are trying to get in there. So there's a lot of traffic issues, and when the shoulder gets blocked off, it stops the flow of not only traffic, vehicular traffic, but also pedestrian and bicyclists. What we do have there posted right now is no parking, the no parking signs. Now that's all well and good, but the definition of no parking is that there's an allowance in the statute where parking is defined as an extended stop. So it's okay to stop your vehicle in a no parking. It's also sometimes referred to as standing if you're staying with the vehicle or if it's just for unloading passengers or goods in a very short period of time. Now, of course, that's a very subjective statement, so that makes it very difficult to enforce. And it doesn't make any difference how short the stay is. There's a lot of traffic, pedestrian, bicyclist, or vehicular traffic still trying to navigate through there, even if you're stopping on the shoulder there for a very short period of time. So my suggestion to the board to consider is reposting both sides of the turnpike in the area of Bob Lobster as no standing. No stopping. The difference is no stopping is simply that you can't stop. Your vehicle is not allowed to stop there. The discretion factor is always there, and I trust my officers to exercise it appropriately. If somebody has to stop there for an emergency, then of course, that's what they would do what they have to do. But stopping to get goods from the establishment, or stopping to unload, or pick up passengers is not appropriate use of that lane. What that does for us too is it gives us an enforceable solution to the problem. People see no stopping. It's a very definitive direction. You can't stop here. Parking is, basically what ends up happening with parking is once we show up, everyone, people, they're in their vehicles, they leave when they see the cruiser, which is all well and good. But that by definition, they're accommodating the statute. They're not staying there for a long duration. So I think the best solution for you to consider would be changing the signage for that area, the immediate area, to no stopping. That's a very definitive, easily enforced, solution, and hopefully it'll stop or at least mitigate a significant amount of the concern that we have in their busier hours at the Bob Lobster.
Okay, I would entertain a motion so we can move to discussion.
Make a motion. To. Only second?
Second,
What is your motion?
Motion to discuss this with the chief's plan.
No, that's not a motion, that's the discussion. So, all right, I move we change the signs to no stopping as explained by Chief Lucy.
Excuse me.
No stopping, no standing.
There should be discussion. Why can't this be discussed?
we're getting there. We need to someone needs to make a motion, then we'll move to discussion. The motion isn't permanent. So for the sake of discussion, I will second Alicia's motion.
And Mike had, John had no standing. That's within that motion, right, John?
Sorry?
Did that also no parking, no standing?
No parking and no standing are very, very similar and not as effective. What I'm proposing for you to consider is no stopping. The word, the signs say no stopping.
Okay, no stopping. Now
Is that what my motion was?
But
Julie, can you read back the motion, please?
Yeah, she's muted.
Can't hear you, Julie.
yeah, we don't have audio for you.
No audio.
Oh, now you're muted.
change the motion to reflect no stopping.
Okay. Second. Okay, now discussion. Jerry?
Yeah. Have we gotten any input from the owner of Bob Lobster? Because this could, quite frankly, affect his livelihood. And I should think, out of courtesy, we would gather his input, since it could affect him financially and otherwise. Also, at that area along the street, there's no curbing, and I was down there today looking at it, and I thought, Chief, is there some kind of an accommodation that could be made if there was some signage that said, if you park on the grass, not on the hot top, because the hot top is where the bike path is. Has that been thought of, Chief?
The only area that I can think of that speaks to your point is immediately in front of the restaurant, and there's a slight shoulder on the road there. It's not wide enough for a vehicle. My recollection, it's not wide enough for a vehicle, and if it is, it's very, very close to the marsh. There's a very strong likelihood that conservation would not approve of that, and vehicles would get stuck there.
Okay.
I don't think it's wide enough there, Ms. Evie.
Okay, and have you gotten any input from the owner of Bob Lobster? I mean, your last line is, "I will speak to the proprietor of Bob Lobster to inform them of the change." I should think you would wanted to get his input.
Yeah, that was more at the direction of the board. That was the spirit of that last line. I don't want to freelance without your input. But I can tell you this, my experience with the owners is they have tried so much to try to mitigate this, to the point where they even have staff out trying to direct traffic around it and move it, and move things around, which is a dangerous situation. To your point, I don't want to speak for the owners, but my sense is they'd be very amenable to any relief, because they don't want that situation out in front of their establishment either. But I mean, if the board directs me, contingent upon a conversation with them, or whatever, I don't know where you want me to go with that. But the reason why it's in the letter to you folks is it'd be at the direction of you that I would pursue it any further.
Thank you.
So I have something, JR.
Yes.
They're not here to speak to this, correct?
No, not that I don't believe so, no.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important that we fix the traffic issue. But I also would like input from the proprietor, because this could affect their business. And I mean, maybe there's a way they can have traffic come on and off. And if it's just stopping for to-goes, that they could, come in one way and out the other.
Possible solution might be if they have no parking in front of their operation, just park out back and leave that front open so people can swing in, live park, pick up your order, move on. They'd have to do some kind of a time thing, but I think we do need to have the proprietor chime in. So I would almost make a motion to put this off until the next meeting and get the proprietor so we can have a conversation with him too.
Okay, I just want to get to, Jeff had his hand up before we close out that last comment session. Jeff.
The only other thing that I need a little clarification on, Chief Lucy, is this just going to be in front of or near Bob's Lobster, or is that going to take, and you don't have to answer this now, but is that going to include the whole of Plum Island Turnpike? So, and don't, that's just food for discussion and how we think about it. Because there's a lot of things that go on in that bike lane, from people pulling to the airport, from bird watchers to on and on and on and on. So it is a conflicted bike lane,
And I would agree with you on that, Mr. Walker. The focus of this particular concern is one very specific area that's the biggest issue right now. But you're absolutely right. Depending on the season, depending on what's going on, the whole length of the turnpike can be having this type of an obstacle. Now, as far as posting the whole turnpike no stopping, to resolve the whole length of the turnpike, this issue of mitigating obstructions in the bike lanes and in the shoulder, absolutely. I mean, that's definitely something to consider. But the focus right now is from my perspective, is the biggest concern area is in front of the Bob Lobster. But it's arguable, yes, the whole turnpike could get some relief from a full posting, sure.
And it's certainly, it's a tough area, because I can remember, I think it was Judy Timon, the planning board, that kind of, was the first person to really, Martha, was it Judy's pushing on the bike lanes back then? She might be muted.
Yeah, Judy was involved with that back when that was done.
And we noted then that, it's not a wide road, and the bike lanes were not, some places really adequate. So certainly, that whole stretch of road is getting to be used more and more by bikes. Seems, especially during COVID, to get to the beach. And, it is a concern. So John, you're certainly not off track. It's something, but it's complicated. Certainly, big issue.
So what is it that we would like to have done? Do we want to ask that the owner be aware of this? Do we want to ask the owner to come speak before the board? Do we want to, I don't know where we want to go with this.
I would like to see the owner be able to speak, at least have his input. Maybe he's got an idea. I don't know. So have his input and then have it on the next meeting.
If that's in the form of a motion, I'd second your motion, Mr. Doyle.
I would make a motion, yes.
And, he might totally agree with what Chief Lucy's trying to do, or he might have some alternatives.
Oh, I think he will probably agree, but I just don't, I don't like the idea of doing something like that without them being aware of it. And John may have made them aware, Chief Lucy may have made them aware of it.
Just to dispel any notion, I know it's been since the new owners have probably been there 3 years now, but I know they're aware of it, and they've been trying to take steps to make things the best they can. So it's not a case of, it's not a case of no one being aware that it's an issue, but certainly tabling it for a month and having them in on the discussion next time would probably be a wise idea. So
Yeah, just to be clear, they've been very, very proactive. They've been very attentive to it and trying to mitigate themselves. Is there a direction the board, it hasn't got to this point yet, but is there a direction from the board you'd like me to pursue anything with the owner? Or is that something, how would you like me to proceed?
I guess that, and anyone correct me if I'm wrong, I think the notion is we'll pick this up at our next meeting with them and, just so everyone has a better feel for it. I think the board where we're dictating parking outside of a business and, they've purchased it and they've worked really hard and they've got the place busy and it's a tough situation. I know they realize it is, and hopefully it's a little more comfortable and easier to find a solution. We have everyone present next time. So,
Yeah, I think it's best if we partner with them.
okay, I will move to a roll call vote on Mike's motion. Alicia Greco.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Jeff, did you have another comment?
Really quick, are we going, just so it gets done and we know how it's going to get done, are we going to instruct Julie to notify them of what's going on? And would they like to appear at our next selectmen's meeting? How are we
Yeah,
going?
Mr. Chairman, I just
Yes.
wanted to let you know, I do have a meeting scheduled with the proprietor next week to discuss some other parking issues related to some neighborhood complaints. I'm happy to invite her,
Perfect.
and then
Okay.
that would work.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Tracy.
Okay, I'll move to a roll call vote. Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy, Mike Doyle,
yes.
Jeff Walker.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll take that up at our next meeting.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
We have a change of management request for D&J Liquors in Byfield. Dig this up. And this is for Sylvanowitz Family Associates Incorporated, 53 Main Street, Newbury, Mass. 01922. This would authorize Aaron Sylvanowitz as the liquor license manager. I would entertain a motion.
I move to accept.
Second,
Okay, any discussion? None. I'll move to a roll call vote. Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Jeff Walker,
Yes.
Mike Doyle,
yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
and J.R. Colby, yes. We have an application for an entertainment license, Georgie Porgy Ice Cream, with conditions. We have, I saw George earlier. Do we still have you, George?
He's here, he's muted.
Okay. Hopefully, George, if you can hear us, unmute yourself.
Hi, sorry about that. Thank you.
Oh, we got you now. Okay, you want to tell us a little bit about your event?
Yes, hopefully everybody had a chance to take a look at the packet that I submitted. There's an explanation, I think, on the second or third page. I'm not sure what copy you guys have. I can read it for those that haven't seen it yet, if that's okay, or whatever's best for you.
Does anyone need a refresher? Or I think I'm good.
No, but maybe he could, just so that the public can hear, maybe he could just give us a brief,
Sure.
overview.
Certainly. There's an application that I submitted for an amusement entertainment license for the property here at 2 Northern Boulevard to have a food fall harvest here at Plum Island. We were going to incorporate 8 local vendors in the parking lot to sell things like art, jewelry, things of that nature. We also had 2 sessions set up, one from 1 to 3, and then a cleaning from 3 to 4, and then a second session from 4 to 6. We were able to design the fall harvest to have separation between each pod. We're calling them pods. It's a 10 by 10 area, and each pod is set 6 feet apart, and there's 12 pods. There's parking on the property, and we'll provide a porta potty and trash for the event. We'll be serving our ice cream, of course, our sundaes, and we'll have some music on my deck out front for the event as well.
Okay, I have a memo from our health agent, Deb Rogers, saying entertainment's allowable. He would need to have no more than 50 people at the event at any time. And he is aware he would need his food truck vendors to contact the Board of Health for a mobile food permit. So are you aware of these things, George? I
Yes,
imagine.
we're gonna, the food will be coming, she did, yes, I am.
Okay,
And the food will be coming from inside our restaurant now, and we provided her with that permit. She also sent an email, and I have somebody looking for it now. At the time of application, when we ran this by Deb, at the time, the limit was 48 people. So if you look at our application, I just want to be candid and clear, there's a dash 48 to 98. We were aware at the time from the people helping us plan this, that there may be a change. And coincidentally, when this was submitted, that following Monday, that change was made by Governor Baker, increasing it to 98. Here's the email that she had sent, and she said it was fresh off the press. The maximum outdoor allowable people will change to 100. We're still staying below that, but I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. So when you see that number of 48, it was up to 98 that she had sent the email back on, and I could forward that to you guys if you need.
yeah, and if you're in contact with the health agent, that'll be your first line to timely and factual information, so that's good.
Yeah, thank you.
I would entertain a motion. Oh, John Lucy? Chief
Yeah,
Lucy?
this might be the right time to segue a little bit. Regarding phase 3, step 2, that on October 5th, that the governor put forward for the towns to be able to move to. I just want to preface it. It would appear, George, that you're still in conformance with what I'm about to say, but I would just want to make sure I have a conversation with the health agent to be sure. I am not prepared, as EMD, I am not prepared to let the town or to recommend the town move into step 2. I'll explain a little bit my thoughts on that. To those that aren't familiar, on October 5th, the governor has made the allowance at low-risk communities, and by low risk, that means they have a certain threshold. They're green as far as case count. Newbury has enjoyed a very low risk status for quite some time, and that's in the interest of public safety and public health. That's exactly what we want to maintain. I am not comfortable with jeopardizing that. I don't think the step 2 justifies the risk of moving from into a medium to high risk status. My thoughts on it, I would like to remain at stage 1. I'd like to observe what effect stage 2 has on communities that choose to move forward with stage 2. I'd like to minimize or mitigate any risk that our community might realize if we do just move to an untested level at this point. I think it's more important that we stay at the low risk level and maintain that, in the interest of public safety. And to my point, I mean, you can look at some of the school systems, Pentucket Regional, for example, they went to the hybrid system where they had the part remote learning and part actual on site. I mean, they took a lot of precautions, but they now they have elevated to a point where they have to go full remote because of the case of increased status. So as it relates to the topic at hand here with this event, I do looking at his outline and looking at how it compares to the standard prior to October 5th, I don't think there's an issue there. I would just I have had conversations with the health agent, and she feels the same way. But I might suggest to the board that as long as to award the permission, as long as it stays in conformance with the current status of Newbury's COVID response, and that would be remaining phase 3, step 1. And this is something that we don't take lightly. Our COVID unified command, which encompasses the town administrator, myself, the fire department, public works. There's a lot of disciplines weighing in, and this seems the best course of action right now. So that's I just want you folks to have that information when you make the consideration on this permit.
So I have a question.
Sure.
What does that mean, phase? Where you want us to stay?
Staying at phase 3, step 1, which limits the gathering size. It's a 50%. It goes from 40% to 50% capacity. And I don't have the whole schedule of what that encompasses as far as types of businesses, but it's the Schedule A in the statute or in the order. What step 1 is 40% capacity, 100. Hold on a second. Yeah, 100 people maximum, outdoor gathering. What step 2 is, it increases to 50% capacity with a maximum of 250 size gathering. If you're in a low risk community, a green community. I think the value of not risking our risk status far outweighs moving into a riskier environment right now without it being tested.
So how does that pertain to this entertainment license?
I don't think it does, but I think I just wanted to say it out loud that as long as it stays in conformance of step 1, if that can be a parameter of your approval, then on its face, I don't see an issue. But he made mention of the fact, and rightfully so, he made mention of the fact that that option is now legally available. And I just wanted to make it clear that as EMD, I'm not comfortable with accepting it at this point. I would like to remain at step 1. And he seems like, from his outline, he's staying in conformance with step 1 anyway, but making sure that even though the governor has, made that available, we are not yet. And so he has to stay where he is right now, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
George?
Yes, Chief Lucia, I understand, and I will comply to that. We'll stay with under the 100 people. We decided to actually also break it up to 2 sessions to limit that amount of people. So the first session of the event with the pet goating, with this petting zoo and things, that goes from 1 to 3, and there's a disinfecting and cleaning monitored by myself from 3 to 4. Then the second session is from 4 to 6. Both of those sessions will be limited to under what you're talking about, which is phase 3 and step 1, which is under 98 people. We're not increasing based on your suggestion. I'd be more than happy to comply with you on that and keep it under the 100. If that works for you, I'd be more than happy.
Thank you. That's exactly my point. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, perfect. I would entertain a motion to approve the entertainment license for Georgie Porgy's Ice Cream.
I would entertain a motion, listening to John Lucy and Deb Rogers as the health agent, and then listening to George talk about the numbers. I would approve his application.
I second that.
Any further discussion?
I think that this is an important step to move somewhat back into normalcy. So thank you, George, for bringing this forward. I think that it's much needed.
I did a walk down on last Tuesday, yesterday, sorry, Monday morning, and he's done a nice setup. He's very much, as far as distancing, he's got it together for that. Also, he opened up a business during COVID, which I give him lots of heads up for. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to see
Okay.
it succeed.
We'll move to a roll call vote. Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Mike Doyle,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Jeff Walker,
Yes.
and J.R. Colby. Yes. Good luck with your event, George.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good
Thank you very much.
Okay, Town Administrator's Report.
Thanks. I wanted to let you know that I heard from Senator Bruce Tarr's office, and he is seeking input from the board regarding the your spending priorities as they pertain to the state budget. So I have to send him a notification. If you can provide any items that you see as priorities or you want to be seen as priorities by the state relative to Newbury. If you can think of anything or anything comes to mind, let me know.
When do you need that by?
Tomorrow. Tomorrow. Yeah, I just got it. Sorry.
Is he all concerned about funding? It's like, is he, with all of meal taxes and everything else down, does he think there's even going to be funding available?
There's no mention of that in his correspondence, but there's recently been some presentations by MMA and government finance. Naturally, as you can imagine, the state is experiencing, I think, about a 12% decline in their revenues. I'm happy to report to you, though, that Newbury's rates are still what we anticipate they would be. So we're not seeing what the state's seeing. Lottery sales, I believe, are down about 30% as well. So there, the fact that he's reaching out and asking us about what our priorities are, I think is great. This is for fiscal year 2021 too. This is not for projecting for 2022. This is our current budget. He's looking for, your input as to what your priorities are. So
This is a shortened year, June 21st, it's 21. So it's a shorter year, right, Trace? I mean, it's just what we got left till that date, right?
yeah, until the end of the fiscal year. Yep. So if you have any priorities beyond what we've discussed with him in the past, certainly let me know and I'll send those off to him. Halloween, October 31st, 5:30 to 7:30. The chief has notified me that that's when we will be conducting it. There's more information on our website. If households don't want to participate, they just need to shut their outdoor lights off. The Byfield Community Arts Center, we had a meeting, the COVID command team had a meeting with Heidi Fram last week, and she notified us of a number of activities that they're going to be conducting outside of the building. You may have seen one of them already occurred. They're having between 40 and 45 children outside doing theater activities, practicing all of the social distancing and masking. They've got Boy Scouts, about 10 Boy Scouts who will be using the inside of the building. Again, they're supposed to be practicing the appropriate protocols, and they are having a Red Cross blood drive on November 5th. She also notified us at that time that she will be resigning from the Byfield Community Arts Center effective 12/31. Principal assessor search, I think I noted to you that we welcomed Jason DeCipio on October 5th. So please join me in welcoming him. The Council on Aging search, we have a new director. Cynthia Currier will be starting on our team on October 19th. She spent the majority of her career working with seniors, most recently as a private care manager at Right at Home, and before that at Care Dimensions and the Glen Ridge Nursing Care Center. She has demonstrated to us in her interview that she has really great energy and a lot of good ideas, and I think she'll certainly be an asset as we consider the expansion of our existing Council on Aging program and its future location. The question arose about the establishment of the Council on Aging. Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 8B governs the establishment of a Council on Aging, and a thorough review by Town Council has indicated that there was no special act creating our Council on Aging. And although Article 14 of the March 16th, 1976 town meeting warrant was proposed to establish a council for the aged, there was no evidence that the necessary steps were implemented to have the article incorporated into Newbury's bylaws. So in order to remedy this, we need to pass an article at the next annual town meeting establishing the Council on Aging, and then have it ratified by the Attorney General in accordance with the procedures prescribed in the Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 32. But in the meantime, it's pretty much business as usual. Chaz Rudich has tendered his resignation. He is currently the chairman of the Council on Aging, and he will be leaving at the end of the year, December 31st. So you will need to make an appointment to fill that vacant seat. Wanted to update you on 19 Independence Way. That's the property I think you may recall we sold at auction for $420,000. The structure has been removed. We went through all the necessary steps, and Ransom Environmental will be conducting a release abatement measure. In addition, they're going to observe the cleanup and prepare a RAM completion report, and then this will close out the petroleum release with respect to Mass DEP and the Bureau of Waste Site Cleanup. So that will be done. We'll be ready to move forward with the transfer of the property. 31 Plum Island Boulevard, as you know, we purchased that for a future bathroom station on Plum Island. The previous owner, Dave Williamson, has contacted the town and asked if he could have the 2 transponders that are mounted on the wall inside the property. I understand they activate his gate remotely. So he asked if he could have those back. So I'd need a vote of the board to declare that surplus.
Yeah, I would entertain a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote. Jeff Walker,
Yes.
Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy. Jerry Heavy, can you hear us?
Yeah, yes, yes.
Okay, got you that time. Mike Doyle?
Yes, yes.
Okay, and J.R. Colby, yes.
Okay. The town clerk reported to me that she has received a grant in the amount of $5,000 from the Center for Tech and Civic Life for the purpose of planning and operationalizing safe and secure election administration. She has also received the ballots, and all ballots that were requested prior to October 6th have been mailed. So be on the lookout for those. Voters who have requested absentee ballots or early voting by mail ballots can now use the tool that's offered by the Massachusetts Secretary of State's office called Track Your Ballot. We have additional information on the town's website about that, or you can obviously go to the Secretary of State's website. And we did also install a secure ballot drop box at our 12 Kent Way location. So you may drop off your completed ballot in the box 24 hours a day. And that is under constant surveillance as well. Just wanted to let everybody know that. And that is all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Tracy.
You're welcome.
All right, old business. Mike, you were potentially COA
Yeah.
update?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you an update. I've had 2 meetings with the Council of Aging, the ladies that put together the packet for us. One was on August 31st and one was yesterday. One of the conclusions we've came to that the needs are critical, and we might need a 2-term solution, one immediate and one long-term. Evelyn and the Noyce in the 31st meeting had reached out to a few places. She went to RJ Kelly in Kent Way, and they have a 3,600 square foot opening up. She went to the Apple building. They may have room opening up. She went to many places on Route 1 that just didn't pan out at all. One of the things that came up was when the police move out, is there a possibility the board, we can talk about them going into that space temporarily. Then yesterday's meeting, we just finished up. We talked about the status of the space assessment. Chaz was running that, and with him stepping down, I don't know where that stands right now. And it's like one of the things we have some really interesting things that Judy Timon did a 2006 report about the Council of Aging. And then we had 960 people over 60. As of today, the town clerk told me we have 2,397. So we have a population that's growing. there's going to be needs that we haven't, I feel we haven't met. And I'd like to open up the discussion. Nobody?
Anybody have any?
I think, Mike, I'd like to thank you for illuminating those points. And I know it got quiet there because sometimes we're pretty aware of some of those things and we all agree with them. Certainly the number of older people in our town includes me. So
And me.
Certainly I think we all should concentrate on trying to, provide some solution, and some of the things you mentioned would take a little thought. That's probably why there was a little quietness there. So
Yeah.
I think
One of the things we have to do immediately, I feel, is we have to get more people on the Council of Aging board. They're down to roughly four people very soon. And the numbers, I think right now we can have up to 9. It'd be great if we get that many people involved, but I think it'd be nice to get some people appointed to the board so they for them to work with.
Well, I mean, one thing you just mentioned in what you did tonight memorializes it. It's in the minutes, and it's good for all of us to think about it going forward.
Yeah, I'll try to get the report. Judy's report is very eye-opening. You put that report with the 3 ladies' report that they sent out. There's a lot of information there, and it's pointed right to the same thing. We have needs, some critical, and I'm just really nervous about the school. Granted, it's not an issue now, but if those kids come back, I'm not comfortable with our elderly in the school system, in the school.
So I have a question, Mike.
Yeah.
Did they look at the Byfield Community Arts Center as an
Yes, we did.
opportunity?
Yeah, we did. Couple issues with that is to get into the cellar, to get into the cooking area, the stairs, and it's not handicap accessible there.
But no matter where they go, they're gonna
Also-
have to, if it's a town building, we're gonna have to do some type of
Right,
work.
right.
to
The
accommodate.
other big problem I saw with the Byfield Art Building was it's going to be like the school in that there'll be no privacy. There's no offices there to speak of, and there's got to
So
be
yeah, it
there's
have
got
to
to
be
be
built
something
out.
with there's got to be something with HIPAA, okay? Because
Yeah.
that is a huge. People have to have privacy when they talk about their medications, when they talk
Yeah.
about other things, okay?
The shine and all that stuff, right?
Exactly.
So that was one of the questions that I had was whether or not the Byfield Community Arts Center would be, because I'm looking at town-owned properties. I'm looking at, to see, and I know that's one of them. And my other question, I know what it was. Do they have, when you say the needs are immediate, do they have any plans, the Council on Aging have any plan to reopen anytime soon? Because I don't know if they can.
No, wait, nobody knows what the future holds right now.
Okay.
I mean, with the numbers are going up. However, if one of the, I think Joyce is here. Evelyn's here. If somebody wants to unmute them and let them respond to that, that's a
Yeah.
question.
Do you guys have any idea on when you think you'll be able to be open again?
Joyce, are you trying to unmute yourself? Oh, I lost her.
I think I'm unmuted.
Oh,
There you
there you are.
We got you.
Yeah. We do not know when we can have people back in the COA. And actually with the space that we have, you've been there, I'm sure
Yeah.
you made the trip. There's no way we can run anything substantial and be 6 feet apart.
Right. You
I
have
don't
one
know.
classroom, right?
Pardon me? It's
You
just
pretty
a
much-
classroom, right?
Right.
And it would be, I think it would be very strenuous on the people coming in, especially the seniors like myself. We're all very concerned about the COVID, and we try to not put ourselves in any position that we might contact it. And we're very lucky in Newbury, like the chief said. we have not had a new case in a few weeks, and we've only had 22 total from what I can see, and that's wonderful. But getting back to the COA, but we do need to start up the services. We do need to take people grocery shopping. It's my understanding that the van has been retrofitted and it's ready, but I'm not sure. We have a meeting on the 19th and we'll be updated as to whether or not they've started the grocery shopping again. There's not much going on that we're doing for the seniors at this point, other than we take their phone calls and take care of the needs that we can. But to be truthful, we're not aware of much because we're not going in there.
Right.
And we have communication through our meetings, but I don't think we'll probably open in that space. I think we need to wait till we get something larger.
Okay, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Jerry,
I've always thought that the little burgundy building at Mantor Field is very much underutilized. I realize it's small, but it would certainly seem financially feasible to put on an addition for the Council on Aging. If that, has anyone thought about that as a possibility?
I think we should look at everything.
Yeah, I agree.
agreed. And also, you know, not ruling out, we're going to have a town hall solution eventually here. And maybe it's time to take the Council on Aging seriously enough to design them a new space that'll suit them well now and going into the future. Since we have that project already in the pipeline, that might be the fastest and most economical route for the town. But again, I'm not ready to rule anything.
Right.
It's,
I just want, tonight, Jay, I just wanted to open up the discussions and
Oh, yeah.
to get the juices going.
oh yeah,
Yeah, you just gave us an update. Thank you, Mike.
okay.
One thing about what JR said was, I think integral is we have emergency services with the fire station there and with the police station there, and safety. If for evening events would be spectacular, if the Council on Aging could be attached in some way to a new structure that would be our eventual town hall.
And I see a lot of, I could see a lot of, you know, dual purpose. They could go to the Council on Aging and get stuff done that they needed to get done at Town Hall. I mean, I think it might be a good fit.
But still, we have time to, a little time to think. We don't want to take too long, but we have a little time to think.
No, but like Mike said, they need a short-term solution too when they do
Yeah,
start to get things
it's
on.
gonna- It's gonna, because
Right.
even with what we're talking at the town hall, if we put, we're talking 2 years. And
Right.
hopefully things are gonna be much better within the next year. And we got to do something in between.
Okay, we gotta
Okay.
start looking at this. Thank you,
That's my report.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, now parameters of citizens' concerns discussion. And I just want to kick off this discussion. I know I think a little bit of a rumor has been spread to some people that I want to quash citizens' concerns or steal and liberties and things. That's absolutely not the case. I find these COVID Zoom meetings dreadful. I understand that they're necessary. I don't like relying on the technology. And one of my concerns during this has been, I'm not a tech savvy person. I do this from town hall, one for the internet connection, and also two for the tech support running these meetings. So nothing gets glitchy or cut out or left out. And my concern was we're in full Zoom meeting mode. What about the people that are a little bit like me, not savvy with the technology, not savvy with apps? And we do have a large elderly population, and not being tech savvy isn't just for the elderly. It's for, I'm 40 and I'm not tech savvy. I can admit it. I didn't want to have anyone that needed or wanted to comment not be able to, due to no technological knowledge or not having the equipment to do so. So that's really been my reasoning and my concern all along by going with the governor's order and limiting citizens' concerns to public hearings. All along, I have anticipated and wanted to move back to citizens' concerns, and I'm just going to say right off the bat, how we go back to it, it can be the way it was. We could go something similar to the way the school committee handles it at the beginning of the meeting. I'm open to anything, so I will open this discussion to the board. Any comments, ideas, questions?
One thing that I think, and I'm just putting this out there, when do you think we can start having live meetings? And maybe not the room you're in now, JR, but if we went into the Joy Auditorium at the Newbury Elementary, it's a town-owned building. We'd have social distancing. It'd be kind of like the town meeting, but on a smaller scale. I'm just saying, I like you. I'm not a fan of these Zoom meetings. They've been effective, but it's like I still like to sit at the table and talk to people. So that's one thing I'm just putting out there. And if you're worried about public, we could even consider having the public Zoom in, and then their questions could be taken to a live board. But I know Salisbury's doing it. I think Raleigh started it up again. So I'm just putting it out there.
Okay. Questions or comments from the board about citizens' concerns?
Well, I did some research, and I think you found what I found in your packets. And I like the idea of the way the Triton School District handles it, because it sets parameters up, it puts a time limit on it. It's specific about not having any dialogue. I would like to see something like that added to our agendas in the beginning. Plus, it allows you to, at the discretion of the chair, to extend it if needed. So I guess I'm going to move. I move that we add the language that I proposed to the beginning of our agenda items. I guess it could be, and this is up for discussion after the call to order, before the board and committee reports, before we start our business. And the language that I propose is to receive oral communications from members of the public. Members of the public may address the select board for up to 3 minutes, longer with the permission of the chair. The select board will not engage in a discussion on topics raised during public comment, but may choose to add the topic to a future agenda. This agenda segment will be limited to 15 minutes unless extended at the discretion of the chair.
So we can move to discussion. Jeff.
I don't mind seconding what Alicia said, but somehow we've still got to be aware of the fact that the board's not going to be entering into a long discussion like we used to, which is kind of, in a way, not, it's kind of sad, but if it's not on the agenda, we can't be at liberty to really discuss it.
Right, that's why it says the select board will not engage in a discussion on topics raised during public comment, but may choose to add the topic to a future agenda. I mean, I think that's what I like the most about it, because we could walk a line down a road into violating the open meeting law, which I do not want to go down. We've been led down that road in the past, and I haven't been happy. I've been very uncomfortable about it.
I yield the floor to Selectwoman Healy. She's had a hand up for a few minutes.
Yeah, but if the topic is on the agenda, certainly we could discuss it. That doesn't foreclose discussion if it's on the agenda, does it?
No,
Not
to me,
during that agenda topic, right?
to me, you're correct, because then if it's on the agenda, the public's been duly warned.
Right.
So to me, then we would be safe.
Right, so you could discuss it. It would not certainly violate the open agenda meeting.
Only if the topic was on the agenda.
Right, okay.
I have a question, and Jen Solis sent out a quick email to us, I think, Saturday, Friday, and she just said, I'm not sure who compiled the list, but I want to let you know that as long as I've covered the West Newbury Board of Selectmen 23 years, they've allowed public comment despite never having it listed on the agenda. So for 23 years, has West Newbury been breaking the open meeting law? That's what I'm asking.
Oh, no, I think you're confused by the open meeting law. The purpose of an agenda is to let the public know of the topics that the select board will be
Right.
discussing. Having
But-
public comment on the agenda, that in and of itself isn't an item that we can move on, that we can vote on.
Can we
So
discuss?
if there's an item, let's say and I think we're going to have a training coming up on Monday night. I think that might be very helpful. So the easy way to break the open meeting law is to have a meeting with a set agenda. For instance, the police station. We are building a new police station. There was a time when we weren't building a new police station. And the police station wasn't on our agenda to discuss, move, and vote on. But if somebody comes in during public comment and wants us to talk about the police station and have a discussion on it, which is deliberation, well, that's a violation of the open meeting law because there are other people in the town that were not aware that the board was going to have this conversation. And if they had known, they may have been there to voice their opinion. That's a violation. So I think that's the fine line that we walk on when we have public comment and they want to engage in a dialogue. That's not appropriate.
Right.
Okay.
Any member of the public could come before us and make a statement about anything they want. But if it's not on the agenda, we're flirting and we get into a discussion or a decision, we could potentially have a legal.
Okay.
It's a violation.
Right. But we could
That's
also.
the problem. That's
later.
the problem with town government is it works very slowly, unfortunately. But it works. That's democracy. It works. It's pure. As long as everybody goes by the rules, everybody has a fair chance at being heard, and we have an opportunity to listen to everybody.
Jeff?
I think what Alicia's saying is maybe have citizens' concerns for a certain amount of time at the beginning of the meeting. But I think, and Jerry can correct me if I'm wrong, that she's alluding to is to have open discussion now from the audience as we go through some of the things on the agenda.
No, that's not appropriate either.
Well, what I'm saying is that if it's on the agenda, they have the right to address us and tell us how they feel. And then, and then later the board would discuss it, and have in the back of your mind what, the prior citizen, 3 or 4 people voiced
Right.
concerns about various and sundry things. Just like Bob Lobster. I mean,
Right.
we want him to come before us and address the issue because he might have a solution that we haven't thought of. So it's only
That's right.
So
Jerry's absolutely right. And
we're
And
not-
when we do meet and we have this discussions like we're having now, we don't turn to the audience and say, well, what do you think? I mean, that's not appropriate.
No, I mean, that's why it's usually it's at the beginning of the meeting, a set amount of time. And I have to admit, in meeting the public this past spring, people were extremely upset. And they really, really, really felt like they had lost their voice at the board. So I think it's very important that this does get restored.
COVID.
Right, but I don't want anybody to be misled to thinking that when we bring back citizens' concerns, that this is going to be a dialogue with the board about whatever they want to do. See, I still think that's important, that the selectmen's hours are met. So at those points, we can have a dialogue. We're not meeting as a board. When we collectively meet as a board in public and start engaging in dialogue over items that are not listed on the agenda, that's when we are violating open meeting laws.
But I think
And-
we're getting hung up on the issue of a dialogue. You know, I'm not talking about a two-way, a back and forth. I'm talking
Right.
about people who are citizens coming before us and voicing a concern. And if
Yes.
there's no vehicle, then they feel stifled and they feel like they're not being paid attention to. in
Right.
my-
COVID's made it very difficult. I never anticipated being chair and having to deal with aspects of our processes. And, you know, I feel like as selectman, part of my job is to protect the town from liability. And I saw a liability in somebody like me saying, I don't have the technology to participate and I don't want to get COVID. So therefore, I can't participate in these meetings. And that was, I know that's probably a very small minority of the town, but it's really rationale. And just for, I know probably nobody cares, but it's made it, you know, as chairman, it's made it a very difficult time to navigate through this with our processes and Zoom and different governor's orders as they come through. So, I mean, I understand the frustration. I also share the frustration because, I mean, I guess, you know, I'm old fashioned. I prefer the way we used to do it.
Right, but I just want to set an expectation that this isn't going to be a two-way dialogue. It never should have been, and it never will be when we meet as a board. There's that misinformation I've seen floating out there on social media that, you know, we are supposed to be meeting with the public when we have our public meetings. That is not the role of the Board of Selectmen or any other public body, at least in the United States.
People elect the five of us because they want us to A, listen to them, and then B, make the decisions for them.
Right, and if we bring back public comment, that's what it's for, to listen to them. We
Right.
need to take information in. We're not giving it back and gonna deliberate on things that aren't posted on the agenda. If it's on the agenda, we absolutely can talk about it. But if it's not, and we talk about it amongst ourselves, we meet in public. We do not meet with the public. Those are the purposes of public hearings. I think that's what can have a lot of people confused.
We have a motion. Do any more discussion before we move to a roll call vote?
Can we reread the motion, please?
I forget.
Yeah, can't hear her. I know, I can't remember either.
I believe it's the full paragraph on
Triton.
that reads, to receive oral, the language I propose to add to our agenda, to receive oral communications from members of the public. Members of the public may address the select board for up to 3 minutes, longer with the permission of the chairperson. The select board will not engage in a discussion on topics raised during public comment, but may choose to add the topic to a future agenda. This agenda segment will be limited to 15 minutes unless extended at the discretion of the chairperson. Isn't that what
Yeah.
you want?
Yes,
That's basically the Triton model, correct?
yeah,
Right.
and I think that would serve Newbury well.
Yeah, and if for some reason we go that way for a while and we don't like it, we can reconsider it.
Right,
Okay. I'll make a motion, I'll second that motion.
All right, I'll move to a roll call vote. Alicia Greco,
yes.
Mike Doyle,
Yes.
Jeff Walker,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
and J.R. Colby, yes. Okay. Now we have a PEG access follow-up. Alicia, I know I wasn't present for the last meeting, so we'll probably be more productive if this.
You want me to take over this, JR?
Sure.
Okay, so at our last meeting, we had gotten the bad news that we could not fund an appropriation that was made on the town meeting floor to appropriate the sum of $95,050 from the receipts reserved cable television PEG access special revenue fund to support PEG access service and programming. This actually wasn't, because Triton is a separate municipality from the town of Newbury, payments are very specific, and currently the only method of funding items for our regional school district is through the budgeting process, where the budget comes from Triton and is presented to the 3 towns, voted on at town meeting, and as we all know, that's where money gets appropriated. Selectman Heavy, you had some questions on legalities on this, and we tabled this so that you could get all this information. And I guess I'm going to ask you, are you satisfied with this, or do you have any more questions?
No, I'm not satisfied. I still think we need a legal opinion from either the Department of Energy and Telecommunications or the Attorney General's office. And I did receive information, and I want to quote that this information from the Patricia Hunt from the Department of Revenue. It says, this email response is intended to provide general information about the application of municipal tax and financial laws and Department of Revenue policies and procedures. It is not a public written statement as defined by 830 CMRs, and does not state the official position of the department on the interpretation of the laws pertaining to local taxes and finance. Information responses provided by this email are akin to ordinary telephone or face-to-face conversations and do not reflect the factual or legal inquiry or analysis which would be applied in the case of a formal legal opinion. And for me, for my 5 cents, to override what the town meeting voted for 4-1 to fund the schools, when the Board of Selectmen, quite frankly, the last board did not do its fair homework to the school, because they zero funded that PEG money. And PEG money means public access, education, and government. They only funded the government. And I went to the town meeting because the selectmen didn't provide any funds. And Triton is running Channel 8. And so now to say you can't get it based upon an opinion, which is not a legal opinion, by the Department of Revenue, and the Department of Revenue gives accounting rules, I don't think it's right. I don't think it's fair, especially in this time of COVID, where they produce Channel 8 and they do a wonderful job, the students at Triton. And to not fund them is just plain out and out wrong. And I believe at town meeting, there was $704,000 in this account. And what are we doing with this money if we're not helping the students and helping Channel 8? It's our Channel 8. It doesn't go to Salisbury. It doesn't go to Rowley. It goes to our channel. So
right.
I have a problem denying this money to the students, because they certainly could make great use of it. There are lots of students who are doing great things with video. In fact, your predecessor, Chief Lucy, Chief Riley's daughter, got a huge award because of the video she produced at Triton.
Yeah.
We have these children. Yes, you know, we have these children who do great things. We have children. Mike Doyle, you know some of these children are special needs.
I worked in Bob Lathrop's room for 5 years.
And
video. I saw the special ed kids, they thrived in it, and I saw kids like Riley's kid thrive in it. I mean, he's had people go on to really good careers in the industry.
Right, and I'm trying to help the students, you know, and you know, for us to say, oh, we can't do it, when we've done it in the past. And this PEG money's been around for 40 years, and other towns that have regional schools, they seem to get the job done. I don't know why Newbury can't get it done. That's all I'm asking, you know, and maybe we need to, at town hall, we need to think outside the box instead of, you know, instead of hanging our hat on it's a bean counter's rule that's not even a legal opinion. You know, to deny
Well-
these children this just isn't right. It's
Um,
not.
So I,
Go ahead.
Is
Elise.
that a motion, Jerry?
Yeah, yeah, it would be. I mean, and also, they're talking about capital. I mean, this isn't a capital expenditure. This is
So-
just Channel 8. You
So-
know,
Alicia?
if it were an operating, if they called it an operating budget, would that be okay? You know?
so let me step in for a second. Last year, we did fund the Triton Regional School District $75,000 for technology. They were able to purchase a new TriCaster so that school committee meetings could be aired on Channel 8, which is in Newbury. They did purchase some cameras and they purchased some other items. I think everybody on this board agrees with you when we support the schools. I think that that the funding mechanism is the issue. So Triton legally, the town of Newbury couldn't write the Triton Regional School District a check out of free cash, even if we wanted to. There has to be a funding mechanism.
This isn't free cash.
It's
Right, but the issue,
No,
the
it
issue,
doesn't-
the issue
it
is,
doesn't-
the issue is that the district is the district and Newbury's Newbury in full.
Right, it's a separate municipality.
Exactly. And I know, I for one,
that being
tend to
said,
heat, please, give me a second, please.
sorry, Jaya.
Would lean towards heating the Department of Revenue. Maybe we can get creative and find a better way to do this. But I want to say before we move into any type of vote, I am not comfortable with directing town staff into doing anything that they've been warned against by the Department of Revenue. That's, as far as who we reach out to, doesn't bother me, but I'm stuck on that. And again, part of my job is to protect us from liability. And we're directly notified that there's a problem there. And I know the intent wasn't malicious. I want to help the schools. So, you know, perhaps over the next couple of 3 weeks, we all need to put our thinking caps on about maybe there's another way to go about this.
Right, that's exactly my point. And perhaps I at the district communications committee meeting, I bring this up to have a discussion with the three towns. And I don't want to get confused. It's not that, and I believe town staff feels the same way. It's not that we don't want to fund this. We just can't do it this way. We need to find another way. And we just need to work on it. And I've already had a conversation with the superintendent, and he understands. I mean, this isn't something new.
Well, I don't think anyone said you can't do it. We're allowing ourselves to, as I read, as I quoted, it's not a legal opinion. Why don't we get a legal opinion from somebody who gives legal opinions on PEG money? What is appropriate and what isn't appropriate.
Well, we worked with our town council, and our town council,
not allowed. She's under her contract. She is not an expert in telecommunications. That's why Attorney Epstein had to be hired 2 years ago to negotiate the
to
contract.
negotiate the cable contract, not to interpret. He doesn't interpret funding sources. So I guess I'm kind of stuck, Jerry. What would you like us to do?
Give them the money so they can wire the stadium and do what they need.
So I want to make sure I understand. I don't, are you asking this board to vote to direct our staff to do something that we've been told is not a legal funding mechanism? I don't think that's what you mean.
You know, I take great issue. To me, it's not legal to hold on to this money and not give it, not use it the way it's supposed to be used, and that's education. The students, and that's what in my book is illegal. So, you know,
So let's just
from
find
this.
another, let's find another way to accomplish what we need to accomplish. Let's find another way.
Right, exactly. You know, and last time, Ms. Blaze, you talked about you were looking into ways to resolve it outside the box. What have you come up with?
I think she has something.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I may. One of the alternatives is, rather than segregating that money into a special revenue fund, which we did through town meeting approval, because at that time, the plan was that all of the PEG access money would go into that fund, with the idea that the board wanted, and the media committee at that time wanted, a studio constructed. So we were saving our funds to construct a studio as part of the renovation of the town hall facility. If the board's changed and they're not interested in doing that, then there really isn't any reason to have that money sitting in that fund for that purpose. You could reverse that vote at town meeting. This money could become a general fund revenue. It would ultimately close to free cash, and you could make any appropriations you want from your general fund to support activities at Triton, whether it's a technology plan or actually anything you want to spend it on. As a general fund revenue, it's not restricted. As PEG access funds, there are significant restrictions on them. I think I sent you all the IGR report from DOR, and it's pretty clear in there what it can and can't be used for. So that's one option if you wanted to consider doing something like that.
So I have a question about that. How does that, no matter how the town funds this technology for the schools, the funding mechanism still has to come from the district, correct? It still
Correct.
needs.
The district would have to present the plan to the communities, and then we would fund it through our normal assessment practice, the way we would fund anything else for the district.
Excuse me, point of information. There's a state and a federal statutes that says PEG money can only be used for PEG funding. And
Correct.
that means it can't go in, it
In
should.
the general fund.
That's not accurate. I believe I sent you the information that shows how you can establish it. PEG money can very well go into the general fund unless you have the town meeting vote that restricts it, which is what we did, because at the time we wanted that fund that money held separately in a fund for the production of a studio, so that we could have that available for additional programming, governmental, educational programming. So if this board now doesn't want to do that, then what you would do, again, you have to go to town meeting and get it approved. I'm not advocating for one way or the other. You could go to town meeting and reverse that vote. It would immediately become a general fund revenue, and then you could appropriate that money. We would, rather than appropriating money out of the special revenue fund to fund our operational programming, we would have a regular line item budget, just like we have for police department and fire department and DPW. You'd see a PEG department that would have, the programmer's salary and wages and his expenses. So you see it budgeted just like we do every other department of our operation. And then you could appropriate again from free cash any amounts that you want for a district capital assessment for technology or the likes.
But that request still needs to come from the district, because see, where I'm hung up is the district needs to request this from us. I'm hung up on the mechanism. We have the money. It's the mechanism that I am hung up on.
Most, point of information, a lot of communities do a 5013C. And actually, the media committee did not recommend putting a studio in town hall. They recommended going to Triton. And the expert, Chris Thomas, that was in his report that the board in the past has cited. So
Right.
They said to go to Triton, that would be the better place to put a studio, because it does not
Right.
work in town.
But then when we had the conversations with the superintendent, because of the school and the nature of the school being locked and stuff, it wouldn't be really open to the public during the day. It would only be open to the public
It's actually
in
in a
the-
separate.
in the evenings.
It is in a separate building. It's in a. Separate,
Yeah, but it's still school property and there's still classes. It was very complex.
well,
But again, that's a conversation that I think
For
needs
another
to happen at another level. But so there is the 501c3 model. That's what Salisbury uses.
That's correct.
So that we do have alternatives. We just can't do it this way.
Mr. Chairman, can I maybe put it off for maybe next meeting or even a month? Okay, so maybe we can get a lawyer involved too, that's an expert in this, to get another opinion. And then to get some guidance.
I mean, I'd be in favor of tabling it so we can weigh mechanisms, but as far as finding outside lawyers when we have our own law firm, I just don't, I think we're just throwing money.
Well, if, it sounds like town council can't get involved though.
Give an opinion. At least that was her contract. That was her contract.
Her contract doesn't forbid her from negotiating a contract.
Right.
It didn't forbid her from weighing in on funding mechanisms. But maybe we could ask town council to come to the next meeting.
Well, I hope she lets her malpractice insurer know, because that was the reason she could not opine on communication issues. She didn't have the approval.
We'll ask her to
there are
come
other
and
members.
she can make that statement.
Also, there are other members in her law firm. Maybe there's somebody in the law firm
That is
that she can, that's an expert. I don't know. I don't know how big a law firm is. So motion is on the table to the next meeting anyway.
Second. Any discussion before we table till the next meeting? Call vote. Doyle?
Is it
Yes.
the next meeting on the next after Mr. Doyle?
Well, the next regular selectmen's meeting. So it gives us 2 weeks anyway, and then if we decide we need more time, then we can put it off for another 2.
Okay, roll call vote. Mike Doyle?
Yes.
Alicia Greco?
Yes.
Jerry Heavy?
Yes.
Jeff Walker?
I'll vote yes, but I think we should put it off a month, but it's okay.
All right, okay, Jeff, I have no problem if the chairman wants to take another vote and put it off for a month. I have no problem with that.
We can take another vote, so when
Move to amend the original motion.
Okay,
Yeah.
move to amend the motion to instead of the next meeting, the meeting a month from now, that's to 2 weeks. So 2 meetings out. Motion made?
second. All right, roll call vote. Mike Doyle,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Jeff Walker,
Yes.
Alicia Greco,
Yes.
and J.R. Colby, yes. All right, we have an intro for the emergency evacuation route on 14th Street. I'm going to jump over that and get to the lock-in update because we have a very Ben Gehagen that's been on the line for a long time. So
Oh, God bless Ben. Thank you, Ben, for hanging in there.
I'd like to get to Ben Gehagen. Unmute yourself. Oh, there we go. We got you. Can you hear us, Ben?
I thought Conservation Commission meetings were fun.
An easy one.
That's good, Ben.
Yeah.
Wait
All
till
right.
it get bad.
So we have a lock and dam update. My understanding, I'm very familiar with this issue. Took an interest in it in 2015. I know you folks, something came up, I was unable to attend our last meeting and it got tabled. I know more information was provided, the initial study and some other things. I would open up to questions, discussion.
Ben, do you need a motion from us?
I think that was the idea, is that Tracy and I were hoping to have a motion that we could continue on the path we have been on since 2015, I believe. The last time the select board approved us to go and seek funding for the necessary studies and then design permitting and eventual removal if everything leading up to that were to be to the satisfaction of the board and town, that we could just proceed on this path.
I'll make that motion because I was the one that just wanted everyone to have more information because there are new members. And I felt that some of that work that had been done before definitely needed to be illuminated as people go forward and have the discussion that'll come after I make this motion. And I make the motion in summation to the words you just made, that you guys continue since 215 on the track you've been on. I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, now that we're in discussion, I know I wasn't here at the last meeting, so I don't want to reiterate, but I know people have seen the fish count go on every year at the falls for quite a while, and for a long time now, Ben's been the guy or one of the folks involved in this work, and in the whole study, well depths and
Jay, you're cutting out totally.
in the whole 9 yards. And what really stuck out to me, in 1973, 38,000 fish were observed, moving through that area. And in 2009, that had dropped to 1,000 fish. I know some people, the snuff mill building's gone. It was really neat. I love the building, but the building's gone. The dam served a commercial purpose of generating power in a bygone era. It was necessary at the time. I don't think our forefathers realized what they were doing to the fish until, quite a few years afterwards when they really noticed the numbers drop. And I think this is an issue where we can do so much good for the environment in town without a lot of work or investment. And I'm just so happy to bring this to this point. And that's about all I have to say. Is there any other discussion before we move to a vote? Jerry Heavy.
Yeah, a request for information. On the paperwork or the information we received, it refers to the Larkin Road Bridge. Is that the bridge that you can't drive on Larkin Road where it kind of, no?
No, it's the bridge that's directly downstream of the dam that has a parking. If you were coming off of Central Street, there's a parking area just before you get to it on the left-hand side where anglers usually park. And the Division of Fish and Wildlife stocks trout there. It's a very popular site for people to fish in the spring.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it. What will this cost the town? Yeah, you're not looking for any funding. You're just looking from the town. You're looking to give you authorization to seek grants, right? So it's not
correct. The funding climate is one that the town will have to contribute in some way to a successful removal grant. And I have worked with the town to help identify ways that we can do that through in-kind efforts. I think Tracy probably can recollect the exact numbers if I can, or if you really need them, they're in that proposal you received. But I think one of the ways we were doing that was to use James's crew, the DPW crew, to do a lot of site work and excavation work, and that could then be used. So the town doesn't have to actually use funding money, provide cash, but they would be providing an in-kind effort that has a monetary value that we can use to leverage into federal money to do the work. Hopefully that makes sense.
That does make sense. I just wanted to know dollars and cents, basically. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board before we move to a roll call vote?
I think also, JR, that we must remember what Ben said at our last meeting, that there is compliance issues for the town to a certain point either. I know a lot of other towns are undergoing the same problems, but you know, the town does bear some responsibility for sure to keep a updated fish ladder. And that thing certainly would take a lot to update and make workable again, especially because of its contextual nature to the front of the dam. So, I mean, Ben, that's a big project, right, to get that fish ladder in compliance?
Yeah, I mean, you can patch it and go ahead and try and make it work, but I think it's a pretty, like JR was saying about forefathers, I think that when that thing was built in the 60s or 70s, it was our forefathers' best efforts at building a fishway. And that if they could do it again now, they do a lot of things differently. So it's not that effective of a fish passage, and you could, and really it's in such a sad state of repair. Anything is putting lipstick on a pig at this point. So to, as you said, it's tied into the face of the dam. To do anything meaningful to improve fish passage at that site, it would be as much money as the town would probably put into a grant to remove the whole dam and be rid of the liability and improve passage more than you would with a fish ladder. I think that answers what you're asking.
It answers it for me. So you're looking for direction from this board, and do you need any funding from us as well at this point?
Not at this moment. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I'll move to a roll call vote. Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Jeff Walker,
Yes.
Mike Doyle,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
and J.R. Colby, yes. Ben, thanks for, since I've known you, you've really stuck to this and not given up and pursuing this. I think it's very important work, and it's one of the best things we could possibly do for our waterways at this time.
I really appreciate everybody on the select board for the vote of confidence and the ability to move forward with this. It's when I got to my position, there wasn't the things weren't in this atmosphere of getting this done, and I really appreciate the support to do it.
Super. All right. Have a good night.
Thanks,
Be in
Ben.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, now we will move to emergency evacuation route on 14th Street. This is something that's been around since 2009.
2000 when?
2009.
Okay.
And I've been aware of it for quite some time. I've been around in this role since 2015. And I took an interest in, what's been kicking around, what hasn't gotten done. And I think this absolutely rises to that level. This evacuation route, would be in case of down power lines, a fire, Center Island breach. It would allow emergency vehicles. It's not intended for pedestrian traffic. It's not intended for pedestrian vehicles. This would be for response vehicles and potentially DPW vehicles to access that end of the island if it was rendered inaccessible. The other end of this one end of it is on 14th Street, 10-foot right away. It kind of skirts, I don't know, depending on which way you look at the island, under the basin, and it comes out just before Hutchins Road on the right on town property. There's a town right away that exists through there. So hopefully everyone's had time to review the maps and has thoughts. And basically, not saying we have to tonight, but if the board was in favor of this, it would basically make it so it could go in front of our Concom and in front of DEP to see if it's a real, a feasible project. And also it would require materials, unpaved, et cetera. Jeff Walker.
Listening and knowing this project for as long as I have, and to the fact of what you just illuminated, which puts it into the process and puts it on a track to, really have people do a deep dive. You're just asking us to approve this access policy And I would make a motion that the Board of Selectmen approve the access policy.
I'll second that.
Discussion. Jerry?
I was down there today checking it out. And I'm sorry, J.I., your audio was breaking up. Did you say there was a 10-foot town right away there? Because when I mean, I ended up in someone's driveway because it's a dead-end street. It only goes halfway through. So I'm kind of,
It's not a complete built road. There is some construction to do. You're talking about the end of 14th you went down?
yeah.
Correct. It would continue off the end of 14th.
And it would join up with the old Post Road?
Old Point,
Old Point,
Road?
Old Point.
correct.
And, okay, because I saw a lot of private property, no trespass signs, so, I'll take your word that there is a town right away, but, I don't know. I had to just about back out of the street because you can't get there from here, as they say.
Yeah, I've been down there too. Right now, there's absolutely no established turnaround. Neither the town's really looking to establish a turnaround. And I know I'm not looking to establish a road that gets really used much at all unless there's a problem or maintenance to be done on the road.
So JR, correct me, I have a
There's
question.
absolutely a right of way through that area.
Is this right of way imperative for the folks at the northern end of the island? Should something happen and they have to evacuate in that center island, we all know that main road that comes down and you take coming down, going north to south, taking a left to head off the island.
Yep.
If there's something should happen there, a fire or a breach or a car accident, God forbid, anything there, and people had to get off the island. And to me, Plum Island and fire frightens me immensely. Those houses are so close together, and I've seen fire there before. If they needed to evacuate and they couldn't get through there really is no way off unless we complete this, correct?
Correct.
And I think, Alicia, that it can be a little bit more definitive in the fact that if we had a real serious overwatch at Center Island, that even if there was a medical emergency in Newburyport on the other end, that road could be very useful.
Right.
Chief Lucy would like to comment. Oh, hang on. I'll get to you in a second, Chief. Jerry Heavy?
Yeah, but now, I guess my concern is that if there was any kind of major evacuation, you'd get a bottleneck on the Old Point Road out by the Plum Island Grill. And I mean, you're a long way from traveling over the bridge there. So I don't get how it really helps. All it does is cut off the dog's leg right at at the bend of the road. So I don't see how this really helps, because it seems that there's going to be lots of bottlenecks on the bridge at Old Point Road. Can somebody explain how that's going to?
Yep.
John Lucy, Chief Lucy?
Sure. First and foremost, as far as the bottlenecks of
Break it
traffic
up.
control, we would have ops plans in place for when that access road was made, deemed necessary to open. We would have TCPs or traffic control points set up where we need to. The alternative is no evacuation. The alternative is people that are obstructed from accessing through the center to get off the island can't. So the lesser of both evils would be to manage a traffic issue, as opposed to you can't leave, you can't get to a safer place. So the way it would work, the way I envision it, is this particular access area would be gated at the two ends. It's only, so it's not a throughway. It's not it's something that we use regularly. It's only for emergencies. And we would deem when it needs to be opened, and we would put in, people in place to facilitate that. The other benefit is, it was already spoken to about emergency vehicle access. It's also, there's a measure of emergency vehicle preservation involved. Anybody that's not familiar with the activities that happen out on the island with the backup and the overflow, in the brackish water that might wash over in the center and make it very hard to negotiate. That water gets into the, we've lost cruisers with damage to saltwater exposure, fire trucks, very expensive. So there'll be times when it's more about emergency vehicle preservation as well, where we could access drier areas and be ready to respond to emergencies with vehicles that we want to keep for more than a year after the event. So there's that as well. And then also if there's any kind of event, whether it be a bottleneck trying to get off the island through the only access point there is through the center, we've had fires, we've had equipment blocking those areas without, a way of egress. We would implement this action by opening up the gates and directing, the traffic through that way. So I hear you, what you're saying, but we would have measures in place to control and monitor that.
Have the people who actually live on 14th Street, have they been contacted? Do they know that we're contemplating this, or the town is contemplating this?
I know in the past, they've been very well aware. As of recently, I don't know, but this isn't a new idea.
Yeah, but once we give this the go-ahead and it starts process, the Conservation Commission will notify them all of what's happening, that this is what they need to start that process, I
Correct.
believe.
And there'll be probably a public hearing.
Oh, there will be. I think this is very important. I think there's a lot of people that live on the northern end of it, and I think that it is irresponsible of us if we have an option as a town-owned right of way to create a second egress in the absence of trapping all those people, God forbid. I think that it's terrible. I think we need to move forward with this.
I know, I don't want to look back years from now if a life's lost on that end of the island and there was no way to get there, and something I had tried to do. So I think I at least need to try.
I mean, if you look at it, JR, and someone that knows the island can correct me a little bit more, but I think as you go around the corner and head up Northern Boulevard, there is one road that, goes down through and then comes out back by, almost by Mr. Mo's. But once you get beyond that, I don't think there's anything else that goes through, and then you're cut off by the basin. So,
Right. And I know I think there might have been a second scenario, but if there was a lot more grading and a lot more abutters.
doing things. So,
Yeah.
I mean, really, if you have a major washout at Center Island, God forbid at all, it could really be the only way for people on the other end of the island to, filter their way back out. And it's certainly, as our chief said, if you have to have emergency response, that's the only way it's going to get through.
Mike,
If it's been on the books since since 2009, and so other boards must have looked at it. Has there been any input from the people on the island? Is there any opposition? I'll be honest. I saw this. It wasn't on my radar at all as far as something that's been going on. I don't know the background. What is anyone know the background? What have other boards found? Is there any opposition? Is there any support on the island? I don't know.
I think it's something that just never got followed through with in the past.
Okay.
It's
I've been on the
one
board
of those things that's been rolling around, and why boards before didn't pull it over the finish line, I couldn't tell you.
All right, okay.
I've been on the board for, I'll be 6 years, and this is the first it's been before me.
Is there any, so my question to the chairman, is there any other old, like the lock and dam? Is there any other old information that we should have before we make a decision?
I'll look into it, but I don't believe so besides the map you've looked at. And like Alicia said, this would bring Concom before DEP and all those public comment type of scenarios. I think it's absolutely important to give it a chance. I don't want to feel responsible if something bad happens someday, even years after I'm not doing this job.
I don't want to, I'm not killing it by any means. I'm just saying, if there's a history of what, it's like 11 years, I'd like to see a little of history, what was discussed, what the results were, and why it's quagmate, why it's not going forward. There's gonna
Right.
be-
That's a
If
good
it's-
point. Maybe, does Tracy have any history and do you have any knowledge in history? Tracy, you know why hasn't moved forward?
No, I don't know the reason why it hasn't moved forward, but doing this, executing this is the Board of Selectmen's commitment to move it to the next phase, so it would go to Conservation Commission for a public hearing. It's never gotten that far.
And I think if you think about it, it's going to be a gravel road. I don't think it's going to be paved.
No, not paved.
But you also have to talk about the various issues. You know, if it's going to be an emergency road, people are going to have to plow it in the winter. So, I mean, going the next step is going to illuminate some of the next steps.
Yeah.
And
I don't-
DEP could say no, right?
Correct.
Correct. That's a very real possibility. And also, I don't even know that we necessarily have to plow it in the winter. My hope is that we can put in that we never have to use.
But if we're gonna have it there
Situation
for
that
an
it does
emergency,
need to be
we
used,
just have it
in the
plowed.
situation that it does need to be used, a loader will be able to clear it. I mean,
All right.
That's probably right. The loader could get down there real.
right. I don't plan on sending snowplows for everybody's backyard. I wouldn't be in favor of that. Hopefully this is something, and we have it, we just never need to use it. And I know, you know, the 644 loader of whatever that giant is sitting at the highway barn, that thing will make mincemeat of 3 or 4 feet of snow and open that up if we need it to.
It's just got to be on the island in case it's flooded. It's got to be down there.
Correct.
Tracy, is there any information you think that would be in the past that you could give forward that would help us, or?
I
do you
put
think
the
it's-
information in your
Okay,
packet.
okay, that's all the information then.
Yep.
Okay,
I can
okay.
look back through the
I'm
conservation
asking,
record.
I'm asking about, you know, the past, okay? Is there any other information that you think we should have?
I can ask the conservation agent to look through the old files. I
Okay?
know there was a study done by Vine and Associates many years ago, but it's not relevant today. It's been updated. We had Tom Hughes look at it as far as the permitting, putting the permitting together that would go forward on Conservation Commission. I can see if he has any of the old data, but again,
Right.
it wouldn't be relevant today.
So, Mr. Chairman, would you consider putting this on for 2 weeks, just so we can see if there's anything that we're missing? Talk to some people on the island, and just to find, because I don't know the history, and I think it seems to me that
Well,
it's actually,
Mike, I think that's what the public hearing will bring out.
okay, but I'd like to even talk to
If you
Doug
talk to
Packer.
people on the
Because if-
island, right?
But if anyone knows the history of this, would be Doug Packer, and I wish he's no longer the agent, but I'm sure he's got some history for us. And I'd like to talk to him before we voted.
If there are political reasons boards before us didn't bring it forward,
I have no idea.
that's on them, and I'm not really interested in that. I'm
Yeah,
interested,
I have no idea. I agree. If it's. an
and we have to
emergency-
get to a public hearing to have true and
All right.
accurate.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah,
mean, listening, you know, there might be a point, you know, we don't know this because we haven't gotten far enough, but maybe the concept doesn't even work.
Correct.
So, and that's going to be illuminated as we go forward, Mike. And that
All
might.
right, okay, all right.
Well,
DEP might kill it, you know?
Yeah,
We don't know till we try.
The conservation agent, I mean, the conservation, they might kill it too. I mean, we don't know. And then I don't know what's gonna happen, how to evacuate those people. We have to go back to the drawing board, I guess.
Well, you gotta look at all the variables, like we just said. If you can't keep it open during the winter, and I'm sure we can, is it viable, so there's a lot of different things to look at as an overall plan for the road.
So basically, this would be an endorsement by the selectmen to let this get further looked into. It's not a final decision.
Okay, I have no problem with that then.
This is support for the idea,
Okay,
It's direction.
yeah,
correct?
all right.
Correct. So I would entertain a motion.
But we have one, don't we, Jeff?
Yeah, we got it.
Oh, yes, sorry. We got carried away in conversation. Okay, I'll move to a roll call vote.
Repeat the motion, please. It's been so long.
My motion was for us as a board to support the Plum Island Emergency Access Policy as written out that you have in your packet.
May I inquire who wrote that? Where did that language come from?
I can't say I wrote it, Jerry.
Okay.
I would imagine the language came from council. Tracy?
It came from council out of a meeting with the conservation agent and Tom Hughes and Tim Meehan of ARC. We had a surveyor, an engineer, and the conservation agent.
Okay, any other questions before we move to a roll call vote? Jeff Walker,
Yes.
Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yeah, with reservations though, yeah.
Mike Doyle?
Yes,
Okay, and J.R. Colby, yes. All right. Thank you for supporting this idea. I know it's difficult to think of, but the issues on Plum Island aren't always easy to solve. It's an important step for public safety, I think, and we might find it's a no-go with DEP, so it'll be interesting to see how it pans out.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to move on to correspondence. We received some letters from Division of Marine Fisheries on the status of the clam flats. We received a letter from Xfinity. We received various emails regarding the Central Street gas station, 2 in support and several in opposition. We have a review of meeting minutes.
Mr. Chairman, before we go there, I just want to say, the Xfinity, I saw on the news today, their payback to the people for no sports for 3 months is going to be $4 a household.
I can't beat that, right?
They come through when we need them, don't they?
Yeah, I can't get a hot dog at the Garden for $4. All right. Review of meeting minutes. Board, September 22nd, 2020 draft minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
All right, roll call vote. Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Mike Doyle,
Yes.
Jeff Walker,
Yes.
Alicia Greco,
Yes.
and J.R. Colby, yes. We have Golf Center, July 15th, 2020 draft minutes. I'm recused from the Golf Center hearings, so I'll rely on you folks for the vote. Is there a motion?
Motion made to approve.
Second.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Mike Doyle,
Yes.
Jeff Walker,
Yes.
Alicia Greco,
Yes.
and another Golf Center draft minutes, August 11th, 2020.
Motion made to approve.
Second.
Okay, Mike Doyle,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yes.
Alicia Greco,
Yes.
and Jeff Walker.
Yes.
Okay, do we have warrants tonight, Tracy? We do. I would entertain a motion for the chairman to sign the warrants on the board's behalf.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Roll call vote. Mike Doyle,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy,
Yeah, yes.
Alicia Greco,
Yes.
Jeff Walker, and J.R. Colby, yes. No executive session tonight. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion. Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Mike Doyle,
Yes.
Jerry Heavy. You gotta
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
we got you now. Jeff Walker
Yes.
and Alicia Greco.
Yes.
Okay, and J.R. Colby, yes. Thanks, everyone. Good meeting tonight, and see you soon.
Good
Good night.
night. Good night, everyone.